Do. Hey, I made this little Valentine's for you. When I was little, I used to love cutting out hearts. I still love cutting out hearts. And you should see our house. It's just full of hearts. Hearts everywhere. Hearts. Well, welcome to another Sunday Live Online. This is Dr. Jonathan with the Althea community. We are so happy you are here joining us to explore love a little deeper and also to begin an important 7-part series called Transforming Community. And for the next 7 Sundays, including this one, we will be looking at different key themes in the transformation of self and community. We will also be featuring a special Jonathan Ellerby classic story with each of those Sundays, with the exception of when we have interviews. And we have a really cool interview coming up for next weekend, so stay tuned for news about that. Let me get into some announcements and check my watch here, and then we're going to get going. Nice to see you all. Happy Love Day. Lots of love to each of you. All right. I know. My beard got thinner. It was getting so bushy. The kids were starting to brush it like the dog, and that was embarrassing. So, the first thing we want to announce is that we are continuing our fantastic fundraiser led by Tim Wilson. It's the Tim Wilson Insurance Donation Match Challenge. That's a sexy name, right? So Tim, our wonderful community member and the director of the Mariposa program, has offered to match up to $2,000 for people who contribute to our January insurance fund. Now, it's January because that's when the bill was paid, but it's a whopper of a bill. It's $20,000. And so all the contributions that go towards that, Tim is going to double them. So if we donate $2,000, he will donate $1,000. If we don't raise $4,000, he will add another $1,000. So let's see how far we can go with this. Now, I also want to tell you something really important we want everyone to know. Tim is a thoughtful, kind, generous, and aspiring leader in our community who wants us to have a strong 2021, which means he knows that a $20,000 bill at the beginning of the year is a very difficult thing to put under your belt when you're going forward with, restricted expenses and income and so on. We are not in a financial crisis. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Some people heard that I was stepping down from my position and that Tim was raising money for insurance. They put 2 and 2 together and assumed that we are in a financial crisis, and that's why I'm leaving. None of that is true. So I'm telling you live. We are in good shape. I mean, we're not rolling in it. That's true. We could use a lot more in reserve. That's true. But Althea came through 2020 strong. The fact that we actually broke even on a year where all of our revenue streams were cut short was remarkable. And it's because of your generosity on Sundays, the Evergreen program members. Some of you really dug in and gave some special gifts. So we are okay. But we are no longer in the old consciousness where we are struggling just to get the bills paid. We are in the new consciousness where we want to get ahead of our bills. And we don't want to face big deficits later. So that's why we're doing the insurance challenge. It is to stay strong, not to fight fear or any kind of deficit. So you will see a little, appeal that Susan has just posted for you. It's on YouTube. Tim talking about what this proposal is. So please get involved and contribute if you can. I just wanted to explain all that so there was no misunderstanding. Let me see what else I can tell you. Now, we also have a special program coming up called Althea Be My Valentine. Now, beginning this Sunday on Zoom at 2 p.m., Nancy Ruff, Liz Picard, and Courtney Leduc are offering a 4-week exploration into creativity and community as a spiritual practice. Now, one of the things that we want to celebrate about this is that now that we are entering a 2-month window of preparing for my transition out of Althea, although I will remain connected and involved, and I will come back as often as you'll have me, many of our community members, despite the grieving that is going on, are beginning to ask themselves, how can we be a part of creating a stronger, even more creative, more dynamic, more engaged future for Althea? And I invite you to join that thinking. I also invite you to join this special program. And you can get information on the website, and it will continue to be available in our newsletter. Community Connections this Thursday continues. It is free. Of course, we accept donations. The link is available on our website and in our newsletter. I host the 11 a.m. spot, and Joni hosts the 7 p.m. spot. If you know anyone who is in healthcare or any kind of a caregiving profession that has really been stretched and stressed by 2020, I am going to be offering a free 90-minute burnout and resilience session on Tuesday, February 16th from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Now, I will say, and I apologize, this is really for caregivers. So think psychologists, chaplains, nurses, doctors, social workers, radiology technicians, and so on. This is an opportunity for Althea to be of service to this community. So please, if you can, share that with anyone you know who is in the helping professions and facing a lot of stress and burnout. This is a special 90-minute free program just for them. The following Tuesday, I will be doing a kind of an unusual talk, as I will be talking about 4 of the most influential Indigenous teachers that I have ever known or worked with in my life. And when I say influential, I don't mean like they're famous. I mean influential on my life. And it'll be a wonderful way to kind of explore a lot of interesting themes in consciousness, awakening, and awareness as we look at intercultural exchange and intercultural dialogue, and how do we manage the limits and levels of appropriation and connection. What is the role of love and healing and awakening and consciousness as we explore the traditions and encounter healers and teachers around the world. So anyway, I think it's going to be really great. Anybody can sign up for that. That's on the website. Suzanne Hunt has launched her 8 healing meditation 7-week modules. Let me try to say that again. I don't know what the number 8 means, but she has launched her healing meditation program. It's a 7-week module. And check out the entire program on Althea's healing meditation page. Unless maybe I've just mistaken something, because I do know Sue and I do know her program. It may be that there are 8 7-week modules, because I know she's got a ton of material, and we have been talking and planning for quite a while about getting it all out there. So kind of sounds like it's out there. Please check the website. It's a lot of great material. People have loved her classes. Check it out. And at 11:30, it's a lot of announcements today, 11:30, if you want to join us for a Zoom call after this, we take 30 minutes just to kind of see each other and connect live. So I'll wrap up around 11:20. This thing that we're doing right now, you can get your cup of water, go to the restroom, freshen up, whatever, and then you'll switch over to Zoom, where we can kind of recap the message of today and have a little chance for some Q&A face-to-face on the screen. All right, that's it for now. Remember, you can make donations at the beginning, middle, or end of what we're doing here. Suzanne Hunt's programs are coming up. Red Earth, White Boy, that's my talk on the 23rd. Burnout and Resilience, Community Connections, and Althea, Be My Valentine. That's going to be really cool too. Creativity and community as a spiritual practice. Whew! Are you ready for us to settle down and get connected? All right. So, as we transition into our primary reason for being here, I would like to say again that we are today launching a 7-part series, and the series is called Transforming Community. And as most of you know now, I will be transitioning out of Althea at the end of these 7 weeks, so that means in April. And even though we are absolutely in a time of grief and emotional processing, many of us are already beginning to discuss what will the next stage and phase of Althea look like. This is in your hearts. This is in your hands. And in my way of believing, it's already in our consciousness. But through our creativity and intuition, we need to come forward and help shape what this community will become next as it grows and serves in love and oneness. So the first theme that we're going to explore is love. Not only because it's Valentine's Day, but because love is the beginning of all things. And what does that mean? Well, you're going to find out. So let's take a breath. I'm going to invite you to slow down. We're going to use our breath, connect with our hearts. And then I have a little blessing and a reading from Rumi. And we'll close later with another reading from Rumi, of course, because it's Rumi's day. It's the love day. And we will close today also with our statement of being. So, you got it? You ready? Let's see some hearts. Let's hit the heart button, send some emojis, lots of love to everyone, and then sit back, close your eyes, take a deep breath. Relax and release as you feel yourself slowing down and settling down into the moment. Big, soft breaths down into your belly. And long, slow exhales. Eyes closed, sitting comfortably but alert. And imagine you're breathing into your heart. So as you draw your breath in, maybe you imagine, you can even put your hand on your heart. Maybe you imagine that the heart center of your being, your spiritual heart, your energetic heart, your heart chakra, however you think of this powerful, loving force at the center of who you are, you strengthen it with each inhale, drawing in life force, drawing in wisdom, drawing in love from the universe around us, and then when we exhale, breathing out love. Love for each other. Love for this day. Love for the world. Let your breath be a cycle of abundance, drawing life force into your loving core and releasing love unconditionally to everyone, anyone, and everything that might possibly be blessed by this loving gift. And in this quiet place, as we feel stillness and silence growing within us and around us, we pray each in our own way, and yet together as one. To the one that is all, the first love, the eternal love. Dear God, we give thanks for this day and the power of knowing love. Help each one of us to unfold this journey in its fullness, that we may know love through every aspect of who we are. May we see it and share it in every aspect of what we do and where we go. We pray today that all that limits us, holds us back, or blinds us from seeing, feeling, and recognizing love within and around us, that all those barriers, all those burdens, all those wounds would be lifted with grace and the power of knowing the love that is abundant, that is eternal, and puts into perspective all the little misshapen stories and experiences we carry about love. Today, we pray for this great healing in our relationship to love and loving, and from this place we offer love to the world, to all beings everywhere, unconditionally, the energy, the power, the light, the goodness, the peace, the refuge that is love. And from this place, may we each find and feel our own safety. May we each realize and express our full authenticity, so that together we may embody the love that is ever flowing through us. From our collective transformation in the understanding of love, may we accelerate and elevate the consciousness of this planet and the willingness of all beings to live together in harmony for our common good and deepest experience of love. Amen. And if you can, stay with your heart open, stay with your eyes closed, stay with this feeling, this confidence in the loving nature of our universe. And I would like to share a Rumi poem. It's a pretty popular one. But I actually opened the book to another page, and I'm going to read what just presented itself instead. So, meditating on love. You that love lovers, this is your home. Welcome. In the midst of making form, love made this form that melts form. With love for the door, soul the vestibule. Watch the dust grains moving in the light near the window. Their dance is our dance. We rarely hear the inward music, but we are all dancing to it nevertheless, directed by the one who teaches us the pure joy of the sun, our music master. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back. And I love this poem that just sort of popped up that I didn't expect to read, but read anyway, because it reminds us that so many of us have spent most of our lives believing that love is something out there, that love is something we have to find, we have to earn, we have to deserve. And what that belief reveals is a fragmented experience and understanding of the self. So let's dive into this fragmented self and explore, why do we have such different feelings and views about what love is, and ultimately how awakening to the depths and abundance of love may be just what every community, every family, every team, every couple, every friendship, every individual needs to know. But to start, I'm going to tell you a story. It was suggested that over these last 7 weeks, which won't really be my last, but you know what I mean, over the next 7 weeks, including today, that I share a classic Jonathan story. Now, we won't do this when we have interviews like next week, and you gotta be here next week. But I have a favorite that just kept popping up in my head today, and it might be surprising that this is a story about love. Well, it takes place when? When does it take place? I know there's a lag here, but I'm looking for some engagement. You can lean forward, hit that keyboard. When does the story take place? Let's see emojis. Let's see words. Let the other 47 people know that you are awake and not just making breakfast while I'm yammering in the background. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, my friends. We need to get the love going. This isn't a one-way street with me just talking to a screen. We are in this together. Yes, a long, long time ago, and far, far away in ancient China, there was a great monastery in the southern mountains. And in that monastery, that Buddhist monastery, was a legendary monk. The abbot of this monastery was known as the teacher of teachers, the master of masters. And those that sought the deepest awakening would take the arduous path into the mountains and down into the small valley where this precious Buddhist temple rested. But this was also the time where the great warlords terrorized the countryside, and the Buddhists, the early Buddhists, were being hunted by the barbarians and wiped out. Well, in particular, there was one terrible, terrible warlord who burned his way through what is now southern China like a scourge. And every village they found, they showed no mercy. And any trace of Buddhism they found, they extinguished, and every temple they burnt to the ground. This barbarian warlord was known as the deepest, darkest evil the land had ever known. And then the rumors began to spread that he and his horde were nearing the very mountains where this precious Buddhist temple sat. Until one day a messenger came and told the monk and his community there in the temple that it was time to flee, that this abbot must be protected. They begged him to move on, to leave the temple, to go into hiding. The horrible warlord was on his way. But the peaceful soul smiled at the fear and the stories and the pleas to relocate. And he said he would face this moment as he faces all moments, with love and equanimity. All will be well. And of course, the monks, even the devoted students, thought, this guy's crazy. What are you talking about? You can't reason with a warlord, and this man is like a monster. He's not even human. How is love or compassion going to solve anything? Well, the fateful day came, and there, in the high heat of noon, There was a pounding on the door and a rumbling of thunder. Of course, inside they knew the warlord had reached their gates, and they could hear the hooves of his horde coming to join him. Dust rising up on the other side of the wall, and the monks ran in terror, and they all hid wherever they could. The few villagers that were there all ran and hid wherever they could. But the abbot, the wise, the loving, the peaceful abbot, went to the door, and he opened the great gate himself. There he saw on a great black scar-covered horse the warlord himself. No introductions were needed. The warlord, covered in armor and blood and dirt, and the abbot, adorned in his robes, discerning his age and wisdom and high rank, and their eyes met. And the warlord pulled out his long, bloody sword filled with nicks and dents from so many battles and so many bones. And he said, "Bow towards me, for we are about to bring your world to an end." And the monk stood and continued to gaze into the eyes of the warlord, peacefully, kindly, and a gentle grin, a warm smile appeared on his face. The warlord looked around at the others, who were laughing at this old man and how foolish he was to smile in the face of death. The warlord got down from his great black steed, and he came over, a menacing figure. And he went, sword drawn, face to face with the humble monk. And he said, "Don't you know who I am? I could run this sword through your belly and not even blink an eye." And the kind, loving old monk looked deeper into the eyes of this terrible being, and with so much peace, he smiled and said, "And don't you know who I am? I could let you run your sword through my belly and not even blink." And with that, the great warlord sheathed his sword, climbed back on his horse, and they left, never to return again. This story, which originally I actually heard from Ram Dass, I heard him tell this story once. This story is an incredible story that teaches so much about life, so much about self-awareness, so much about peace, so much about the blessing of awakening to oneness. But more than anything, perhaps, it teaches us about the depth of love. It allows us to see that love lives on so many different levels in our lives, in our realities, that we can become confused by it. We can sometimes mistake one for the other. When I think about the human experience, and most of you listening know this, I really think of the human, the interior world of the human as sort of three parts. There's the conditional self that's all about you and your relationship to the world, what you want and how you think it should be and how you've been shaped by your experiences. That second part is your essential self, what makes you unique, what makes you specific, your personality, your character, your gifts. And then there is that universal dimension, the part of you that's more than soul, but spirit itself. God, consciousness, alive inside you. So we have the conditional, we have the essential, and then we have the universal. And interestingly, we find that depending which aspect of self you are identified with, you will define and relate to love differently. So the conditional self relates to love as a commodity. I'll give you love if you give me love. In this world, in this conditional idea of love, there can be no standing up to the warlords with love, as we heard in the story. That seems like suicide, because love is transactional. And how can you give love to something monstrous? Or how could you expect something monstrous to recognize or give love in return? Doesn't exist on that level. In the conditional relationship to love, everything is ultimately a competition. Friendship, romance, family, business leadership, community leadership. It's all my way versus your way. What I love and hoard versus what you love and hoard. This kind of love is possessive, controlling, and fear-based. Now, I make it sound pretty dark, but I'll tell you, it gets dressed up pretty good, right? I mean, think of all those love songs on the radio. Think of all those love commercials you've seen, all those love movies you've seen, where if only this person would return my love the way I want it, only then my world will be alive with magic. As opposed to recognizing that it's always alive with magic, and the love that makes the world magical is always alive within me. No, no, no. We have been groomed and conditioned for generations to believe that love is something we share with discernment, and we certainly don't share it with those who threaten us or who we don't agree with. But if that's true, then why would the monk face the warlord in such a way? Why not run and hide? Why not gather his own army? Why not say something against the warlord? Teach him, insult him, I don't know, anything. But simply to show absolute openness, absolute surrender? Well, what we're taught in the story is that the conditional relationship to love is built on a fundamental illusion, which is that love is about safety. That when I'm loved, I feel safe, and when I feel safe, I will love. You get that? When I am loved, I will feel safe, and when I feel safe, I will love. That is the unconscious story of the conditional mind. And it's total BS, right? That's a load of crap. That's a fast way to an unhappy life. Because we are human, and so much is conditional, that if you hang your happiness and your experience of love on something as fickle as another person's behavior or words, I'm sorry, even in the most amazing relationships, you will be devastated. In fact, what we find out when we contrast the story with the conditional relationship to love is that the truth is quite the opposite, the exact opposite. The more we're willing to love everyone as they are, the less vulnerable we are. the more powerful we are, the more intuitive and clear and self-aware we are, because we don't have the fear and the shadow and the safety clouding our vision. In fact, we begin to realize that love is rarely the real issue in any relationship. We should love generously and easily everyone. The real work comes when we start to talk about relationship, communication, values, compatibility, shared outcomes. This is the frontier, the healthy frontier of the conditional self. What is it we are here to create together? How can we uplift it and serve it? And this springs forth from that second relationship to love. And the second relationship to love is the soulful relationship, the essential relationship. So the conditional is filled with illusions of fear and safety, cautiousness around who and what we love, replaying the old stories of when I was loved and how I was hurt, as though that were conditionally always true, which it is not. And the second love is where we move deeper and we start to see beyond the conditions. And we realize that every experience of love and loss was only an opportunity to realize that the love and loving was always in ourselves. We start to wake up to the teaching of Rumi that says love is not for us to find somewhere in our lives, but to find and remove all the barriers we've built up against it. You see, the conditional story is that love is out there and I need it. I need it to be validated, to be whole, to be well, to be me, to be free. But the soul awakens to realize that is not true at all. That love is abundant. Love is ever present. And my experience of love is actually defined by my relationship to myself. And as I bring the fullness of myself from the shadow into the light of my own love, then I have no need for any conditional relationship of love. I begin to access the place that can love fearlessly and generously. I begin to sense how I am nourished and where I am nourished, where I feel love strong within me and around me. From this place, this essential relationship to love, we then begin a new kind of relationship with life. Love available for all. Love not contingent on games or conditions. But love as a kind of compass. Love as a kind of gravity that pulls us towards our highest good. The people that lift us up, the behaviors that lift us up, the ways of being together that lift us up. And in that place of love, that essential love, we find our gift ready to be given to those special places, to those special people, to all that feels authentic, when we finally find and feel a home in a community, in a relationship, in a neighborhood, we can engage it fully, without limits or judgments. We're there with our love of self to empower others to experience the same. And we do that by expressing our love freely. Now, this is a slippery slope, because you see, the soul exists between the conditional self and the universal self. The soul is kind of the center point of your life that mediates and moderates between the outer world, the material world, the very human existence, and the transcendent world, the mystical world, the divine world. And one of the critical places where we fall down in spiritual community, in relationships, in any important dynamic of relationship, is when we find the places where we want to share our love, where we feel our love for ourselves, but we haven't we haven't traveled long enough with it. We haven't integrated it deeply enough that it is free from the conditional influence. Let me be more specific. We find places that resonate with our authenticity, communities like Althea. We find people that resonate with our authenticity, people we enjoy sharing with, talking with. Maybe we find a romantic partner, or we're with our family. And we share fully and deeply, but we still allow the world of our ego and psychology to interfere. We transfer, we project. We don't see things for what they are or who they are. We still see life through ourselves. And even though we may be evaluating through the soul, what's for my highest good, what serves me, right? What uplifts me, what do I love, right? Like, what do I connect with? What brings me forward? Well, what we find is that when that's challenged, we defend it. Or if someone goes in a different direction, we're back up in the conditional. And so all of a sudden, when you look at a community, so let's just talk plainly, you have a community that's built around love and oneness, like Althea. But when there's a time of instability, a leader is leaving, or there's a major change in our dynamic, one way or another, and all of a sudden, all that talk about love and authenticity and connection and community starts to become stained with the old feelings of fear. Well, if these people start taking over, Althea is screwed. If those people start taking over, Althea is screwed. What Althea really is this. What Althea really is that. How could we possibly do this without this or that or him or her? And all of a sudden, we've brought conditional thinking into our relationship with something that is deeply soulful, into something that is deeply personal. And what we have confused is our need to feel grief, confusion, fear, with the need to do something about it, to act from that fear, to speak from that fear, to think from that fear. No, you can be in your soul and still feel all the human emotions. Anxious, sad, happy, scared, confused, conflicted. And yet, release it again and again and again as you return to your center and the essence of love, the brilliance of your gift, the honoring of yourself, and the deep work to release shame and self-doubt from the way you maintain your soulful relationship with the world. But you see, there's one step deeper, and this is really, I believe, what Althea is based on. This is really what the depth of spiritual life and community is about. It's where we go to the depth of all experience, and that is where we move into the universal experience of love, the mystical, healing, transcendent experience of love, and suddenly we hear it totally differently. When we move to that place, we even go beyond the soul, and we experience the love that is everywhere, ever present, in everything, for everything, and we realize that it is this impulse to preserve, to cherish, to evolve, that is our very source and origin. When we have our highest or deepest experiences of spirit, God, love, it might be a glimpse into the fabric of the universe. It might be a glimpse into the nature of the cosmos. It might be a glimpse into the unity of all things, but the felt experience is love. And it is so saturated, so omnipotent, so omniscient, as was taught in the very earliest days of the Althea community and the divine science community. That love is always available in endless abundance for everything and everyone everywhere. And what that means is, from that place, even our own soul is held with equal love as what we might feel for anyone else and anything else. In the deepest experience of love, there is no need to limit or create conditions. And from that deep place of allowing and accepting and appreciating and being compassionate, from that deep place, we don't need to make decisions. We don't need to pick sides. We only need to listen to what arises from spirit flowing through us. And then we will make our decisions not about who to love, for it's a given, but yes, how we will express it, and when, and why. But all those little details follow the first step, the beginning point, which is to love all without regard. You see, when we love from the universal self, love takes on a different nuance. The word actually changes. When you say, I love this, from the soul, the emphasis is on I. I love this. This is for me, right? This feels like me. This is right for me. And that's good and beautiful to know, to help the soul be nourished and grow strong, but you can't stop there or it ends in disaster. When we go deeper and we say, I love this, I love you, what we're really saying is, I am here to serve. I am here to care for. I am here to steward. I will not treat the world as God's children. I will treat humanity and the world as my children, for I know that God lives as me. And then, as any parent must, I use my intuition, my experience, my heart, my soul, to discern what each relationship will look like. But when I say I am here to love, or I love the world, or I love this or that or you, it comes from this bountiful place of deep appreciation, respect, and service. And from that place, it doesn't matter if people love back. It doesn't matter if they don't understand what we're doing or why. We return to it because universal love has its own integrity, its own strength, its own power, its own will. and we need it. We need it as a species if we want to stick around. We need it between communities if we want to coexist, and we need it within our own community. And that means that whatever conversation we show up to, when we are committed to transforming community, whatever that means, race relations, gender relations, Althea's growth, it means the starting point is universal love. If it's a meeting, we start with the premise that everyone present is equally loved. Every voice is equally valued. We are here to listen. And we will discern not by ego, not by difference, and not even by what serves your soul versus another soul. We will listen to the higher calling. What is it that Althea wants? What is it your neighborhood wants? What is it your community, your country, what is it the world wants? We listen from that loving, loving place. And so we are free to bring forward our greatest gifts and to serve without exhaustion or condition. And this is really what I wanted to share and explore with you today. Whatever relationship you're in, whatever community you're transforming, start from a place of releasing comparison, conditions, judgment. Start from a place of affirming everything. This is where your greatest creativity will come from. This is where new relationships will blossom. This is where you will hear voices never heard before. And life will move through each and all of us together as a symphony, like a forest or a tide pool or the deep ocean floor. So thank you for joining me today. I do want to share a couple things before we wrap up, and then we'll be going to a live Zoom at 11:30. First, remember the wonderful Tim Wilson Mariposa Insurance Donation Match Challenge. If we raise $2,000, Tim will raise $1. If we raise $4, Tim will donate $2. And we have other community members stepping up saying they're going to help us pay this $20,000 bill. The other thing we want you to remember about this fundraising project is it's not because we're in a terrible place as a community or financially. It's because we're in a good place and we want to stay there. It's because we know that when we come together around sudden expenses, causes, or changes, we can move through with grace and strength. Don't forget to please look online at our events page. Althea Be My Valentine. That's the 4-week exploration of creativity and community as a spiritual practice, something really powerful and important for us to be doing together. Please check it out. Starts today in the afternoon, but presumably you can join anytime. Community Connections, again, this Thursday at 11 and 7. Everyone is welcome. Burnout and Resilience for caregivers. Any of you that know people who are healthcare workers or frontline workers or service providers, caregivers, psychologists, therapists, doctors, nurses, and so on, Althea is offering this free 90-minute Burnout and Resilience gift to them. Red Earth White Boy, look it up. That'll be great on February 23rd. And yes, Sue Hunt has finally launched her 8 healing meditation 7-week modules. That means there are 8 of them, and they are each 7-week, and there's a lot to learn and a lot to do. Check it out. It's on our meditation page. It's going to be incredible. And I see you're out there, Sue. Nice to see you. And that's all I got for now. So, to close, and we'll be jumping into the Zoom pretty quick. I'd like to close very simply by reading the Althea Statement of Being with you and sharing a beautiful Rumi poem. It has been asked of me, by the way, over the years, why don't I memorize the statement of being. And what I always say is still true, which is that I do know the statement of being, basically. But for me, the gift is not in memorizing it, it's feeling it. And when I am as deep in my heart as I can go, my memory doesn't work quite the same at all. And so I offer this to you, and I hope we can share in this beautiful affirmation as we have in this community for over 130 years. Close your eyes if you like. Let this be your prayer. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. And this one that is all is perfect life and perfect love and perfect substance. And we each are individualized expressions of God and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. Rumi says it in a slightly different way. Say, I am you. I am the dust particles in sunlight, and I am the round sun. To the bits of dust I say, stay. To the sun I say, keep moving. I am morning mist and the breathing of evening. I am wind in the top of a grove and surf on the cliff. Master, rudder, helmsman, and keel, I am also the coral reef they founder on. I am a tree with a trained parrot in its branches, silence, thought, and voice. The musical air coming through a flute, a spark of a stone, a flickering. Both candle and the moth crazy around it. Rose and the nightingale lost in the fragrance. I am all orders of being circling the galaxy, the evolutionary intelligence, the lift and the falling away. What is and what isn't, you know. You, the one in all, say who I am. Say, I am you. And so thank you to each and all of you for being here, for your love, your listening, your energy, your gifts, your donations, and may we continue to evolve in love together. I'll see some of you on Zoom in just a minute.